Welcome to Pennsylvania Newsmakers. My name is Gene Barr. I'm your host for this week's program. Well, today we're going to be talking with one of Pennsylvania's state representatives about a whole number of issues. I'm going to talk a little bit about bus safety for your kids, grandkids, etc. And we're going to start all that right after this.
Welcome to the fast-paced and unrehearsed weekly discussion featuring the leaders who help shape your world. Join us as we address the issues that impact you each and every day. This is Pennsylvania Newsmakers. And now, here's your host.
Welcome back to Pennsylvania Newsmakers. My first guest today is Representative Tom Kutz, who is the state representative for Pennsylvania's 87th District, House District, which includes parts of Cumberland County. Representative, thanks for joining us here
Gene,
today.
thanks so much for having me.
So you first were elected in 2022, reconfigured some of the districts here in this area, and you were on a number of you're on a number of committees. You've got appropriate consumer protection, technology. I'd like to talk a little bit about some of those today. But let's start with the fact that you were, before being elected State House, you were a local elected official, a township commissioner.
That's right. I did 3 years at Lower Allen Township and learned an awful lot about local issues, the land use process, which, as you know, with Cumberland County's growth, has been a hot topic.
Sure.
And gave me a get some good experience under my belt.
How do you contrast those two? I've served as local elected official too, and it's interesting to look at those two. But you moved from that into the other. So, what's the compare and contrast there?
Well, I think the most important thing is you always have constituents that want to have their input on everything, and you have to be willing to listen to everybody.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, you have to be able to take two sides of whatever issue you're talking about and be able to think about what's best for the whole and what's best, whether it's for a whole township or for the Commonwealth as a whole or the district I represent. Either way, and I think that's the really neat part.
Okay, good. So let's talk here for a moment about you had signed on to a bill that would propose additional sales tax exemptions, correct?
Correct.
And these are ones that kind of tended to help families. The issue, well, first let's talk a little bit about what some of those are so that people understand what exactly you're looking to exempt.
Yeah, so I sponsor a bill that would allow further exemptions for sales tax so that when young families are going out to buy diapers and baby formula and things that they need to help their growing families, that they don't have to pay tax on those items. It saves them 6% on whatever they're going to spend on those items. I think it's really important because with the cost of childcare, in addition to everything else that young families are facing, I think it's important to be able to say, as a state policy, we support families, and I think it'll be something that'll help bring more young people to Pennsylvania. As you know, our state's aging. We have a demographic crisis here, so to bring more people to Pennsylvania that are young and can contribute to the economy and want to plant their roots here, it's just one little thing we can do to encourage that growth and help them out a little bit and show, as a state, we care about a policy that supports families.
Yeah, and Pennsylvania has one of the more arcane and Byzantine structures. It's trying to figure out, well, this is exempted and this isn't. There's a lot of questions. Well, why is that one and why? So what reception has that bill had so far?
It's been incredibly positive. Every family I talk to, and Central Cumberland County is full of young families and vibrant communities, and they've all said that with inflation the last several years, they're paying almost double for so many items that they could get. So families who are on second and third kids, when they were on their first kid, they could afford things a little bit more. And not to mention the cost of childcare, which has just about doubled as well in the last 5 to 10 years.
Yes.
So families are struggling with every little expense that starts to add up. And I think it's important to go out and say, hey, let's find little ways that we can give breaks to these families. And every young mom that I've talked to has been so incredibly excited about it. And I'm happy to carry that torch in the Capitol.
Well, you mentioned one thing I do want to touch on because we've had it on the show a number of times. In my experience, this has been one of Pennsylvania's biggest workforce issues, which is child care. So in talking with members of your caucus, where would your caucus be on how we advance accessibility for that and affordability for child care? Because as you note, it is a tremendously expensive item.
Absolutely. Everything that I'm focused on is making Pennsylvania a better place to live, work, and raise a family, and childcare is a big piece of making it a great place to raise a family. I think we need to first first encourage employers to step into the 21st century and offer incentives. We should make childcare incentives part of, akin to what health benefits are, so that employers have the tools that they need from a state policy level to offer, whether it's more paid time off for young moms, and on top of that, to be able to offer some sort of benefit to offset the cost of childcare. As you know, one of the biggest challenges of childcare is if you can go to $18 an hour to work at Sheetz, why are you going to go make $15 at childcare facilities? So we've got to do more. I think by addressing that in the private sector is hopefully a good place to start.
Tax credit part of that from the state?
I think all tax options should be on the table from the state.
Fair
I think
enough.
anything that's focused on the employer side first, and then that's going to help employees and workers here tremendously.
All right, we'll be right back after these messages.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry, the statewide voice of business, and by the Pennsylvania State Education Association, bringing the power of a great education to our schools, our students, and our communities. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Highway Information Association, the go-to source to learn about transportation projects and issues. Please visit pahighwayinfo.org. And by the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. Business in Pennsylvania is our business.
Welcome back to Pennsylvania Newsmakers. I'm talking with Representative Tom Kutz of the 87th House District. Representative, I indicated earlier you're on the Technology Committee in the House. And I want to talk a little bit because everything we read today is AI. The concerns over getting AI to do your kids' homework, the concerns over AI taking over this, the concerns over... I assume you guys have had these discussions in certain committee meetings and among yourselves. And so how concerned are you about it? Do you think the state should be putting up guardrails on this? So talk a little bit about kind of your thoughts in terms of how we proceed on this.
The biggest challenge with AI is how fast the environment is changing. And I think one of the most important conversations has to be protecting our children. And that comes to internet safety with our children first and foremost, and making sure they're not seeing AI-generated things that are going to be harmful to them long term. I think it's also in school, if you can have your paper written by AI at school, you're going to do that, right? So it's making sure our schools have the tools in place to combat against that, and also making sure that when you're talking about technology in the classrooms, that our teachers are equipped to know how to be able to make sure kids are still doing their work. And what I would say to those students is you're only going to regret it if you're using AI to help with your homework. But I think there's plenty of good that can come with AI. With any advance of technology, there's going to be good and bad with it. But we certainly have to be careful. And from a state policy standpoint, we want to make sure we protect kids in school while also ensuring we don't stifle innovation in the private sector. Because as the AI landscape evolves, we're being able to have our economy become more efficient as well. So there's certainly a balancing act. My hope for government is that we focus on the safety side of things while not stifling that innovation.
And as someone in the political world, you know, that's something else that I think is of tremendous concern. You could have an opponent or someone on the other side create something that says Representative Kutz did this and it's completely untrue. We saw it with former President Biden in the last election where someone mimicked his call into, I think it was into New Hampshire, I believe. So are you guys looking at that as part of something coming into the next election? Yeah,
and we just had a law that was signed into law that prohibits deep fake images is what they're calling it, and that is targeted at that. We want to make sure anytime we talk about elections, we want them to be free, fair, safe, and secure, and we want to make sure that voters aren't being duped. So with technology comes an ability to dupe voters in new ways. So you want to make sure that you're prohibiting false and malicious things that don't run afoul of the Constitution as well, while also ensuring that you can protect free speech, and there's a line there, and I'm sure courts are going to continue to figure out what the line is between completely false advertising and images made up by AI.
In a little bit of time we've got left, I want to talk to you because obviously you're of a different generation. You're one of the younger people in the legislature. How do we get more young people involved and interested in politics? But more importantly, how do we get them involved civilly? I just saw a statistic that said people under 30 are more prone to say political violence is okay in some situations. So how do we address that?
Well, first, I think it's incredibly disturbing that kids are going to our college campuses and all of a sudden coming home and thinking that they want to go out and assassinate public officials. I think it's reprehensible, and I think we need to do more to combat that level of thinking.
From both sides.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And I think you need to encourage people to get involved just by doing what we're doing and having a conversation about issues. And for me, I go into a school once a week as often as I can, and we go and we read to students. We talk to their history classes. I tell them about the importance of government, and then I tell them about the way you go about doing things. If I disagree with someone, I want to talk about the policy positions and not make an attack personal. And I think that's sometimes what we lose in politics. And I think it's hard to build a bridge, and it's hard to build coalitions if you're if your rhetoric is really toned up. So I think we can do better to encourage people by saying you got to be involved by getting in on these issues, and it's also coming to them, meeting them where they're at, and making sure everyone can get their word in.
Appreciate you being on the show. Look forward to having you back on. We'll be back right after these messages.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by Cross-State Credit Union Association. Credit unions, where people are worth more than money. To find a credit union that is right for you, visit crossstate.org. And by the Energy Association of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania's energy information source. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Association of Pennsylvania State College and University Faculties, representing the faculty and coaches who are devoted to providing quality public higher education for Pennsylvania's college students.
Welcome back to Pennsylvania Newsmakers. My guest now is Gerry Wosewick, who's Executive Director of the Pennsylvania School Bus Association. Gerry, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Gene. Pleasure to be here.
So you represent a group of people who carry what we would probably all argue is Pennsylvania's most precious cargo, kids going back and forth to school. Right?
We certainly believe so, yeah. We've been Pennsylvania School Bus Association, been around for about 45 years now.
Okay.
We transport approximately 81% of the students that are transported on a daily basis throughout the Commonwealth.
How many? What happens with the other 19? That just popped in.
School
you leave them by the side, or what?
No. We the school district-owned fleets.
Oh, school district. Okay.
Yeah, Pennsylvania is unique in the sense that the vast majority of all school transportation is done by private contractors.
So contracted out by the district to a private contractor.
That's correct.
Kind of makes some sense. Who tends to be the larger districts tend to have their own? Is that fair?
Typically, more suburban districts, larger districts that have, the capability of running a fleet for themselves. And plus, these school bus contractors, a lot of them have been in business for 75, some close to 100 years now.
Philly and Pittsburgh have their own, I assume?
No, we do a lot of them.
Do you really?
Yeah, a lot of the collar counties, Bucks and Chester, we see that. But we have also been seeing a lot of districts are looking to pass it off to contractors.
Yeah.
It's
a lot of
we
work.
like to imagine we're pretty good at what we do.
Especially for a couple of things we're going to talk about here in a moment. So the first thing is the paramount, as you can imagine from what we've talked about, is bus safety. And you guys are coming up on Bus Safety Week, which you said is going to be October 20 to 24, right?
That's correct. So School Bus Safety Week is a nationally recognized week that takes place across the country, of course. And during that week, we like to focus on the specific safety requirements that come with a school bus, with students, with parents, with other people on the road. And October 22nd is Operation Safe Stop. that is a nationally recognized day where we observe all illegal passings of school buses, report them back so that we can actually get a better idea of how many illegal passings are occurring on a daily basis throughout the country.
Well, that's a great, because that really is what this comes down to. Maybe it's just me, or maybe it's the prevalence of so many videos out there. I know the buses are being equipped with more videos these days. It seems to me you're seeing more and more videos of people dangerously coming close to school buses, passing school buses. Am I wrong? Are you guys seeing more of that? Or are you seeing more of it just because you're capturing it now at least one day per year?
Tragically, I wish that it was something that we were just seeing it happening more often because we are so close to the situation. That's not the case. As I mentioned, Operation Safe Stop happens every year. In 2023, that's the data from most recent Operation Safe Stop, there was approximately 66,000 illegal passings that occurred in a single day.
One day?
One day.
66,000?
66,000 throughout the country. So if you extrapolate that out to 180 days, you can see how often this happens. Sadly, more and more people are getting caught doing this because we have these cameras. We're trying to embrace technology to ensure that we are getting after these perpetrators so that we do not see this continuing to happen. School bus is the most regulated vehicle on the road. It is the safest vehicle to be in for a student. It's outside of the school bus, which is the danger zone.
That's where it happens,
and people just ignored the amber lights, the red stop arms, because they're careless, and we just really ask for people to practice patience.
All right, great. We're going to follow up on some of those here in a minute when we come back right after these messages.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Medical Society. Inspired physicians committed to the good health of Pennsylvanians and the advancement of the practice of medicine. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by Pennsylvania American Water. We keep life flowing across the Keystone State.
Welcome back to Pennsylvania Newsmakers. We're here with Gerry Wosewick, who is Executive Director of the Pennsylvania School Bus Association. Gerry, thanks for coming on. We mentioned how safe school buses are, and one thing that I've heard from numerous people, including in my family, is how come school buses don't have seatbelts?
Gene, if I had a nickel for every time I'm asked this question, we could probably hire all the school bus drivers we need. So, it's a great question, and I will say that that is something that we're starting to see more school buses driving with seatbelts. However, we take a lot of our guidance from the federal level, of course. And what school buses, the way they're designed, is a term that we use. It's called compartmentalization. The seats are closely aligned together. They are lower to the ground. They are set so that when a student is inside there, they're actually more compartmentalized. They are kept in tighter so that it would prevent in the event of an accident, sadly, it would actually keep students safer across the board within these seats. And this is all based off of the padding, the height of the seats, and student size then, of course.
Sure.
The big factor when it comes to this then, too, is, with seatbelts, ensuring that students keep them on. What if in the event, and there was a tragic event where they weren't able to get a seatbelt off of a bus driver, and the bus driver passed away. These concerns exist, and it's something that we actually looked very closely on. Ohio had a very tragic accident, and they actually came away and said compartmentalization remains the safest form for transporting students.
Interesting. What you guys are seeing, is it more lap belts, shoulder harnesses that are beginning to be developed, or
correct?
Kind of both?
It's a little bit of both. It really depends. I mean, especially when working with special needs students, we refer to them as our exceptional learners. When working with our exceptional learners, we are always constantly trying to find that perfect seatbelt,
situation.
Of course.
Yeah. So you mentioned something about finding the money to pay for school bus drivers. I think everyone knows we have an acute and maybe even a chronic shortage of bus drivers in this Commonwealth. Define the problem And what are you guys looking to do? I know, in fact, they're going to put up something here on the screen. You guys are actively looking for them, www.paschoolbus.org. What's going on with the shortage?
So the driver shortage first began prior to COVID. We recognized that there was a lack of drivers leading up to COVID. When COVID happened, the problem was exacerbated. It hit all of us really hard. And what we recognized was that a lot of our talent pool had chosen that they just didn't really want to return to that. Since then, we have been working very hard to try and build that back. We increase driver wages, we increase sign-on bonuses. A lot of folks are adding a lot of benefits that come to it. The difficulty is, this is a part-time job.
Right. How many hours a day would someone be expected to be a driver?
Unfortunately, those hours are extending because we are having to double up on routes, And when in the past we would have someone that would go and run an elementary school run, they'd come back and they'd be done for the day. But now we're seeing elementary, middle, and high school. It'll be 3 runs in a day sometimes.
Okay.
So,
and that's taking them and then in the afternoon as well, of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, so it's difficult. So that's why we try to expand our driver pool. We try and look for folks that recognize that this is a great opportunity, especially if you have young kids. We've been seeing a lot of mothers actually that are taking care of their kids. Bring their kids in. Kid rides a school bus, has a great time because they're already going to school. And then they can go home. There's an opportunity to make some extra money. Retirees. I always said that I wanted to be a long-haul trucker when I retired, but
maybe a school bus driver.
I'm telling you,
maybe a school bus driver.
Great opportunity.
So, what are the requirements for drivers?
So requirements for drivers, we work really hard to make sure that we get all of our drivers trained up properly, prepared, et cetera. As I mentioned, it's the most highly regulated vehicle on the road. So we do background checks, child safety checks, of course, drug tests, and then we start a pretty rigorous program to start you getting to drive. One of the biggest impediments to actually getting more school bus drivers is it takes about 12 weeks from when a person walks in the door to when they're getting in a school bus and they're driving around. We had this acting Secretary of Education, Dr. Gerry Wosewick, and we said, one of the big things, if we could actually either modernize the CDL process, because school bus drivers are commercial drivers, if we could modernize that process and make this a little bit easier to work with, especially from where our talent pool is coming from, we could get more drivers in the door, and we could really do a big number on eliminating this driver shortage. Okay, good. In the last few moments we have here, during the break you mentioned something to me that you guys, in terms of enhancing safety and the video surveillance, or whatever you want to call it, is you're looking potentially at AI, which is interesting because in our previous segment we talked about AI as well. So quickly, tell me a little bit about what that means. What would you do? Safety is the number one thing for us. That's the whole ball game for us. If we can find an opportunity to try and have a safe transportation, and if that means using AI to capture the license plates of offenders, if that means the AI using to be able to detect people that are not supposed to be at a bus stop, we want to take advantage of that. Okay, perfect. I think that's great. Need to take advantage of those technologies. So, Gerry, thanks for being on today. Thanks for being with us on Pennsylvania Newsmakers. Look forward to seeing you next week.